I call Stuart Nash.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. We are talking about Part 1 of the Taxation Annual Rates and Budget Measures Bill. But, Mr Chair, I do feel as if I do have to clarify a couple of things that the Honourable Minister has mentioned. But first and foremost, I must say that I find it a little rich that we have the Minister of Revenue sitting in the chair talking about the bad things the Labor Party did when they were in power, when that minister was the Minister of Revenue under the Labor Party. I mean, if the LAQC structure was so poor, then why didn't the minister do anything about it? If there was such a discrepancy between the trust rate and the company rate, why didn't that Minister of Revenue and the last government do anything about it? So I find it a little bit rich, him standing here and him lecturing the Labor Party on what they did wrong, when in fact that was the minister who was in charge of revenue. The irony has not escaped any member on this side of the House. There's one thing, Mr Chair, that I think you'll allow me to rebut. Now, that the minister mentioned, and he talked a little bit on length on, he talked about dairy farms. He said that the figures were a little bit disingenuous because he said that there was a figure under other which contained $1.5 billion worth of revenue. But, Mr Chair, and I would like to say to the minister, in the line for dairy farms, there were over 17,000 who classified their primary activity as dairy farm. They were companies, they were trusts, and they were partnerships. And the definition, according to the IRD, was they had to have tradable activity. There were no shelf companies there. There were no trusts that had assets. These were trading trusts, trading partnerships and trading companies as defined by the IRD. And I'm more than happy to send the information that I received from the Minister, that he received from the IRD, over to those members. These were not shelf companies. These were trading companies. And what the stats from the IRD said was dairying, $26 million. What the stats also showed is 9,000 of those entities, 9,000 of those trading entities declared a loss. They declared a loss. Now, Mr Chair, one thing, I've had a number of calls from farmers, and one was from a very high executive in Federated Farms, and he said to me, you were right. The farming industry is in trouble. You really want me to? Connor English called me and he said, yes, the farming industry is in trouble. And this is a debate that we need to have as a country, because the farming sector is the backbone of this economy. It is a very important part of this economy. There would be no one on this side of the House who would deny that. But the question that was posed and the question that we posed is the sector in such a dire state that it can only afford to pay $26 million worth of tax? That is the question that we posed. The other question we posed, and it comes back to part one, is the tax system, is the integrity of the tax system in such bad shape that in fact it allowed farmers to expense a whole lot of stuff that they were able to write off against their income. They were allowed to write off against their income to the point where they paid no tax. And I would love Amy Adams to take a call, because Amy Adams has 3 farms, all held in trust, but Amy Adams has 3 farms. Now, she is a lawyer. I would like Amy Adams to stand up and tell us how she did this. I would like Amy Adams to stand up and tell us how she did this. It doesn't matter, because the stats around dry stock were just the same. In fact, 75%, according to the figures from the Minister supplied by the IRD, 75% of dry stock farms earned $20,000 or less. Now, are they really in such a bad shape that they have no tax? Or is the integrity of the tax system in such a bad way? I'm a moron, Amy Adams. Mr Chair, I take personal offence to being called a moron.
Order. The member, that's not a parliamentary term. I'll ask the member to apologise.
Withdraw and apologise.
Yeah. Stuart Nash.
Thank you very much, Mr Chair. All I am asking, Mr Chair, I know the difference between income, I know the difference between payout, and I know what expenses do. I know how economics works, Mr Chair. But I also know that when a sector that describes itself as the backbone of this country pays only $26 million in tax, then there are some serious questions that need to be asked.
John Hayes.
Mr Chairman, I'd like to say to the listening public that that was the voodoo